I lost a bunch of content on the making of this stave vessel, and I had to remake it, and it flew apart on me. And luckily I had this on. It busted this off, and did save me. I got a little bit of a neck kind of whiplash, and it definitely hurt. So always wear your safety gear, and turn cautiously if you feel like something's wrong, which I kind of was rushing things, and that's what went wrong. I put the piece back on the lathe before it was fully cured. I should have given it at least another 4 hours of curing, but in the interest of trying to make a video and finish some stuff up during that day with limited time, I rushed things a little. Not really advisable. So don't rush, take your time, let your glue cure up completely. And the way I was turning, I should have probably had a band clamp and a different type of end stop on, applying pressure, so that I wouldn't be so much expanding the glue joints. I would more just be pushing on the glue joints and not having a tendency to want to pop that piece open. So anyway, take care. Hope this helps you. Alright, so unfortunately this stave piece flew apart off the lathe, hit me in the head. Luckily I was wearing my full face shield, and I think the problem was that this machiche does not like to glue up. All of the pieces that split released right along the glue joint to the machiche. So I'm having a feeling it's a little bit like teak, where you need special glue, or you need to soak the piece of wood in a little bit of acetone to get rid of the oils, so that the glue will actually adhere to this machiche. Plus, I was pushing the envelope a little bit, and it wasn't quite as dry as it should have been. I should have had some band clamps on the two ends. And unfortunately, I lost that footage. My phone was running low on space, and I went to look at the file, as you know, I was kind of like, oh, I hope I caught that thing exploding off of my lathe, and unfortunately those files were gone. So I wanted to share with you the fact that I did have a problem with this piece, and I'm going to start over and try to make this piece again. Okay, so now I made myself a block because I'm making an 8-sided stave with 8 parallel staves. I know that I need a 22.5-degree angle, so I made myself a block at 22.5-degree angles, or very close to it. And now I have my saw blade set at a bevel of 22.5 degrees, plus minus on this indicator. That's why you can see the indicator has some movement. So I made that block using my chop saw, and then I can get in there and get close. That's an easy way if you don't have a good angle gauge that'll fit in next to your saw blade. So then what I'm doing, I took this piece of machiche and I ripped an angle on it here. And now I'm going to be flipping these parts over and, running them through again like this, with this edge up against the fence. And I'll have a small flat spot here on the bottom, just a very small one. And then that'll become the beginnings of the staves for this stave vase. Okay, so I'll do that 8 more times, and now all I'll be doing is taking this, flipping it over, and running it through. Here's how I rip consistent parallel rip strips to place in between the staves. These are the parallel staves over here. Just made 4. So this is how I do it. I have a stop set up that gives me a space between my stop and my blade, and then all you have to do to get consistent, loosen up your fence, bring your fence over until you're just touching, like that, lock your fence off, and rip that strip. And then you come back and do another one. Rather than having your fence right up against the blade and trying to rip narrow strips and having to make a zero clearance fence because they may slip down in here, if you're making wide enough staves, you don't have to have that zero clearance, and you're cutting out here, keeping it up on top of the table. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to make 8 of those. And now I have 8 consistent parallel staves for this project. Alright, so I have all these parts, oops, sorry about that, have all these parts cut, ripped down for their staves, and then all that I'll be doing when I glue up is there'll be one of these parallel staves in between each one of those joints. And I'm happy with the joints. I have them sanded down and ready for a glue up. Okay, so now I'm just gluing them up. I have them all labeled the way I want them to go. And I'm putting my staves in between with glue in between each layer, and then wiggling it around and making sure I get good coverage. Attempt number 2. Alright, so here it is all glued up, and I have a clamp, a band clamp around the middle, and then some saran wrap around the 2 ends, and it's clamped up real nice. I'm going to let it cure up, and then I'll stick it on the lathe soon. I'll probably let it cure for at least 2, maybe 2.5 hours before I start turning. And I did a little force curing by using this inside as sort of a forge tube and heating up the inside, and what that will do is warm it up, and then as it contracts it'll help to clamp the wood together a little bit as it cools and contracts. A nice cultural event happening in the backyard here today, across the street at a neighbor's house. And I'm working on this, since the glue is setting up on this piece here, I'm working on the base for this here, and that'll give me an opportunity to turn a base that I will then turn flat on one of these sides of this stave vessel here, turn flat one side, and this base will get a mortise attached to it, or I may actually just leave it on here and then turn away this bottom. But I have a feeling, since it's so small, what I'm going to do is turn a mortise in the bottom of this stuff and use that with my scrolling jaw chuck to hold on to this, and maybe use a little bit of steady rest if I need to. Alright, so here's this piece of machiche mounted up on my faceplate on my lathe. It's 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and then I lopped the corners off, and I will be turning this into round. Once I have it turned into round, what I'll do is I'll put a small mortise in the end here. Alright, let's get turning on this. Okay, so now I have a mark here, and I'm going to be coming and making my mortise here in the bottom. Alright, so I'm putting some thinned down shellac onto this, 50-50 or so, shellac and denatured alcohol. Okay, I decided to do just a tiny bit more texture right out here. Hopefully it doesn't bite me. I'm coming in, hoping you have a little better view here. Coming in, and actually on this one I'm going to come in this way. getting it started, allowing it to seat, and just ever so slightly twisting it. There we go, a real fine series of dots right there. Okay, now I'm going to spin it around the other way. Come in right about here. Let it seat. And there we go. Alright, so now I've got it mounted up in the mortise in my scrolling jaw chuck. I'll be pulling off my faceplate, and then I will start turning down the face of this just a little bit, prepping it for gluing to the end of the Stave Vase blank. Okay, so this time I have a band clamp running around here with heavy duty zip tie, and then I have this taped together, and instead of having my other cone center which looked something like this, which was potentially wedging my joints open a little bit, I now have just a flat stop here, and then this part has dried for a complete day, and this part has been drying for the last 3.5, 4 hours. I am not going to take my tailstock pressure off today. I'm just going to turn the outside into round, and then I'll come back to this at a later date. But I just wanted to share with you where I'm at in the progression of this staved vessel. The piece I was working on, this staved vase slash maybe pencil holder, and it has turned out, let me see if I turned out really nice. I'll get some still pictures. The lighting's really bad in here right now, but anyway, got it sanded to 320 right now, almost all the way down inside of here. I made a stick sander to sand most of it, and then did a little tiny bit of hand sanding up inside, just what I could reach. And now I'm going to put some finish on this baby, and I'll resand the outside because the staves have changed shape a little bit over time here, and need just one more little buffing, probably with some Scotch-Brite or maybe some like 600 or 800 grit, and then rebuffing the whole thing in. And hopefully I'll get rid of this little wear line with the dust that got down in here. Try to wipe all that out. And I'll take some pictures at the end of this and post the video. I hope the how-to on doing stave glue ups to create something like this helps people who had asked me to post something about the Stave Vase. Alright, so here's the finished piece. Turned out really sweet machiche and some nice clear maple. A machiche base, clear maple stave, parallel 1/4 inch staves, and then the angled staves that are the machiche, which were 1.5 inches thick by approximately 1.5 inches wide at their widest point. So almost a square chunk, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and then with the taper on them. And that's what I came up with here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Thanks for watching another episode of The Naked Turner. I hope you tune in again, and if you enjoyed this video, please click like and share, and give me a comment if you happen to want to. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this helps out somebody who was trying to make a stave vase out there. There's a little bit of information on how to set up your table saw, and always remember, this is not necessarily a how-to video, and by all means, don't do it the way I'm doing it. Use your own caution. Always read, follow, and understand all the safety that comes with all of your equipment, make sure you don't do anything that you feel is going to harm yourself. And always work smart, work safe, and wear your eye protection.